An Irish painter by the name of Murphy, while not a brilliant scholar, was a gifted portrait artist. Over a short number of years his fame grew, and soon people from all over Ireland were coming to the town of Doolin in County Clare to get him to paint their likenesses. One day, a beautiful young Englishwoman arrived at his house in a stretch limo and asked if he would paint her in the nude. This being the first time anyone had made such a request, he was a bit perturbed, particularly when the woman told him that money was no object. In fact, she was willing to pay up to £10,000. Not wanting to get into any marital strife, he asked her to wait while he went into the house to confer with Mary, his wife. In a few minutes he returned. "It would be my pleasure to paint your portrait, missus," he said. "The wife says it's okay. I'll paint you in the nude all right, but I have to at least leave me socks on, so I have a place to wipe me paintbrush." A few months ago, Montreal University and scientists released the results of a recent analysis that revealed the presence of female hormones in beer. Men should take a concerned look at their beer consumption. The theory is that beer contains female hormones, hops contain phytoestrogens, and that by drinking enough beer, men turn into women. To test the theory, 100 men each drank 8 schooners of beer within a 1-hour period. It was then observed that 100% of the test subjects, yes, 100% of all these men, 1. Argued over nothing, 2. Refused to apologize when obviously wrong, 3. Gained weight, 4. Talked excessively without making sense, 5. Became overly emotional, 6. Couldn't drive, 7. Failed to think rationally, and 8. Had to sit down while urinating. No further testing was considered necessary. An Irishman was walking home late at night and saw a woman lurking in the shadows. £20, she whispers. Paddy had never had a hooker before, but decides, what the hell, it's only £20. So they hide in the bushes. They're going at it for a couple of minutes when all of a sudden a light flashes on them. It's a police officer. "What's going on here, people?" asks the officer. "I'm making love to my wife," the Irishman answers, sounding annoyed. "Oh, I'm so sorry," says the cop. "I didn't know." "Well, neither did I," says Paddy, "till you shone that f***ing light in her face." A man goes to a strip club with an alligator. He says, "I bet you that I can put my dick into this alligator's mouth for 1 minute, and when I take it out, it will not be damaged. If I succeed, all of you will buy me drinks. If I fail, I will buy all of you drinks." The other men agree, and he puts his dick into the alligator's mouth for 1 minute. After 1 minute, he hits the alligator on the head with a beer bottle, and he opens his mouth. To everyone's surprise, his dick is unharmed. Now, before you buy me drinks, does anybody else want to try? After a while, someone in the back finally raises their hand. It's a woman. "I guess I can try," she says, "but you have to promise not to hit me on the head with a beer bottle." A man walks into a bar and asks the bartender, "If I show you a really good trick, will you give me a free drink?" The bartender considers it, then agrees. The man reaches into his pocket and pulls out a tiny rat. He reaches into his other pocket and pulls out a tiny piano. The rat stretches, cracks his knuckles, and proceeds to play the blues. The bartender pours the man a drink on the house, and he puts the rat and piano away. After the man finished his drink, he asked the bartender, "If I show you an even better trick, will you give me free drinks for the rest of the evening?" The bartender agrees, thinking that no trick could possibly be better than the first. The man reaches into his pockets again and pulls out the tiny rat and tiny piano. The rat stretches, cracks his knuckles, and proceeds to play the blues. The man reaches into a third pocket and pulls out a small bullfrog who begins to sing along with the rat's music.
While the man is enjoying his beverages, a stranger confronts him and offers him $100,000 for the bullfrog. "Sorry," the man replies, "he's not for sale." The stranger increases the offer to $250,000, cash up front. No, he insists, he's not for sale. The stranger again increases the offer, this time to $500,000 cash. The man finally agrees and turns the frog over to the stranger in exchange for the money. "Are you insane?" the bartender demanded. "That frog could have been worth millions to you, and you let him go for a mere $500,000? "Don't worry about it," answered the man. "The frog was nothing special. You see, the rat's a ventriloquist."
An old lady, late for afternoon bingo, was driving 65 in a 40-mile-an-hour zone when a cop pulled her over. "Ma'am, may I see your license?" he asked. She calmly replied, "Sorry, officer, I had it revoked 2 years ago for drunk driving." The officer frowned. "Then can I see your registration?" She said, "I stole this car, and the owner is in the trunk." The officer shouted, "Ma'am, don't move," and called for backup. Minutes later, the chief of police arrived with half the squad. "Ma'am, may I see your license?" the chief demanded. "Of course, officer," she smiled sweetly and handed it over. It was perfectly valid. "Can I see the registration?" he pressed. She reached into the glove box and produced it, also legitimate. Finally, the chief ordered the trunk opened, and it was completely empty. The woman turned, wagged her finger at the first cop, and said, "And I'll bet that darn liar told you I was speeding, too."
This morning, I was sitting on a bench next to a homeless man and asked him how he ended up this way. He said, "Up until last week, I had it all. A cook, my clothes washed and pressed, a roof over my head, TV, internet. I went to gym and library. Life was good." I asked, "What happened? Drugs? Alcohol?" He replied, "Oh no, nothing like that. I got out of prison." A man lost an arm when his golf cart rolled over on him on a downslope. He became very depressed because he loved to play golf. One day, in his despair, he decided to commit suicide and end it all. He got on an elevator and went to the top of a building to jump off. He was standing on the ledge looking down and saw this man down on the sidewalk skipping along, whooping and kicking up his heels. He looked closer and saw that this man didn't have any arms at all. He started thinking, "What am I doing up here feeling sorry for myself? I still have one good arm to do things with." He thought, "There goes a man with no arms skipping down the sidewalk so happy and going on with his life." He hurried down to the sidewalk and caught up with the man with no arms. He told him how glad he was to see him because he lost one of his arms and felt useless and was going to kill himself. He thanked him for saving his life and said he knew he could make it with one arm if the guy could go on with no arms. The man with no arms began dancing and whooping and kicking up his heels again. He asked, "Why are you so happy anyway?" He said, "I'm not happy. My balls itch." A wealthy old lady decides to go on a photo safari in Africa, taking her poodle along for company. One day, the poodle starts chasing butterflies and before long discovers that he's lost. Wandering about, he notices a hungry-looking leopard heading rapidly in his direction. The poodle thinks, "Uh-oh." Noticing some bones on the ground close by, he immediately settles down to chew on the bones with his back to the approaching cat. Just as the leopard is about to leap, the poodle exclaims loudly, "Boy, that was one delicious leopard. I wonder if there are any more around here." Hearing this, the leopard halts his attack in mid-strike. A look of terror comes over him, and he slinks away into the trees. "Whew," says the leopard, "that was close. That poodle nearly had me." Meanwhile, a monkey who had been watching the whole scene from a nearby tree figures he can put this knowledge to good use and trade it for protection from the leopard. So off he goes. But the poodle sees him heading after the leopard with great speed and figures that something must be up. The monkey soon catches up with the leopard, spills the beans, and strikes a deal for himself with the leopard. The leopard is furious at being made a fool of and says, "Here, monkey, hop on my back so you can watch me chew that poodle to bits." Now the poodle sees the leopard coming with the monkey on his back and thinks, "What am I going to do now?" But instead of running, the dog sits down with his back to his attackers, pretending he hasn't seen them yet, and waits until they get just close enough to hear. "Where's that damn monkey?" the poodle says. "I sent him off an hour ago to bring me another leopard."
Einstein, Newton, and Pascal are playing hide-and-go-seek. It's Einstein's turn to count, so he covers his eyes and starts counting to 10. Pascal runs off and hides. Newton draws a 1 meter by 1 meter square on the ground in front of Einstein and stands in the middle of it. Einstein reaches 10 and uncovers his eyes. He sees Newton immediately and exclaims, "Newton, I found you! You're it!" Newton smiles and says, "You didn't find me. You found a Newton over a square meter. You found Pascal."
An older gentleman had an appointment to see the urologist, who shared offices with several other doctors. The waiting room was filled with patients. As he approached the receptionist desk, he noticed that the receptionist was a large, unfriendly woman who looked like a sumo wrestler. He gave her his name. In a very loud voice, the receptionist said, "Yes, I have your name here. You want to see the doctor about impotence, right?" All the patients in the waiting room snapped their heads around to look at the very embarrassed man. He recovered quickly and in an equally loud voice replied, "No, I've come to inquire about a sex change operation, but I don't want the same doctor that did yours."
3 old guys talking.
60 is the worst age to be, said the 60-year-old man. You always feel like you have to pee, and most of the time you stand there and nothing comes out. "Ah, that's nothing," said the 70-year-old. "When you're 70, you don't have a bowel movement anymore. You take laxatives, eat bran, and sit on the toilet all day, and nothing comes out." "Actually," said the 80-year-old, 80 is the worst age of all." "Do you have trouble peeing, too?" asked the 60-year-old. "No, I pee every morning at 6. I pee like a racehorse on a flat rock. No problem at all." "So do you have a problem with your bowel movement?" "No, I have one every morning at 6:30. Exasperated, the 60-year-old said, "You pee every morning at 6 and crap every morning at 6:30. So what's so bad about being 80? I don't wake up until 7.
A farmer buys a young rooster. As soon as he brings the bird to the farm, it rushes and fucks all 150 hens. The farmer is impressed, thinking about all the eggs the hens would hatch. At lunch, the rooster again screws all 150 hens. The farmer gets a bit worried now. The next day, he finds the rooster fucking the ducks, geese, and a parrot too, which is now scaring him. Later that day, he finds the rooster lying pale and half dead with vultures circling over its head. The farmer says, "You horny bastard, you deserve this." The rooster opens one eye, points up, and whispers, "Shh, don't shout, let them land."
Sean, who was a commercial traveler many years ago, became lost on a strange road on a wild, cold, stormy night. His car broke down. He thought he was in for a terrible night staying in the car, but saw a house light in the distance. Half an hour later, soaked to the skin, he knocked on the house door. A farmer opened the door. Seeing a stranger so cold and wet, he asked him in to dry by the fire. The farmer and his wife provided true country hospitality. They showed him to a bathroom where he stripped and changed into a dressing gown so his clothes could dry by the fire. They had no phone at the house. The farming couple fed him and said he'd better spend the night on the settee. While he was eating supper with them, a lovely young woman came downstairs. The farmers introduced her as their daughter, Ida. In the small hours of the morning, the traveler realized the farmer's wife was in the lounge, putting wood on the fire. "You poor man," she said, "you must be so cold. Would you like our eiderdown?" The traveler replied,
"Oh, no thanks, I couldn't cope. She's been down twice already."
A big city lawyer was representing the railroad in a lawsuit filed by an old rancher. The rancher's prize bull was missing from the section through which the railroad passed. The rancher only wanted to be paid the fair value of the bull. The case was scheduled to be tried before the justice of the peace in the back room of the general store. The attorney for the railroad immediately cornered the rancher and tried to get him to settle out of court. The lawyer did his best selling job, and finally, the rancher agreed to take half of what he was asking. After the rancher had signed the release and took the check, the young lawyer couldn't resist gloating a little over his success, telling the rancher, "You know, I hate to tell you this, old man, but I put one over on you in there. I couldn't have won the case. The engineer was asleep and the fireman was in the caboose when the train went through your ranch that morning. I didn't have one witness to put on the stand. I bluffed you." The old rancher replied, "Well, I'll tell you, young fellers, I was a little worried about winning that case myself because that darn bull came home this morning."
The boss of a furniture manufacturing company decided to take a rare walk out of his cozy office and onto the factory floor. As he looked around, he noticed a casually dressed young man just standing there, not working, way too relaxed for the boss's liking. Wanting to make an example, the boss marched over and asked, "What's your salary?" The young guy mumbled, "About $1,000 a month." The boss pulled out his wallet, handed him $3,000, and said, "I don't pay people to stand around doing nothing. Here's 3 months' pay. Now get out and don't come back." The kid pocketed the cash and walked out. The boss turned to one of his employees and asked, "Who was that guy?" The worker replied, "That was Joel, sir. He's the pizza delivery boy."
A mean, unkind, and ungodly man died and found himself standing at the gates of hell. Satan greeted him and said, "It's not so bad here. You even get a choice of where you'll spend eternity." He showed him 3 rooms. Room 1, people standing in poop up to their necks. Room 2, same thing, but only up to their waists. Room 3, people standing in it up to their knees, drinking from coffee cups and eating chocolate cake. Naturally, the 3rd room looked like the best deal, so the man chose it. He stepped inside, was handed a slice of cake and an empty coffee cup, and thought, "Well, I really lucked out, considering the awful life I lived." Just as he was about to fill his cup from a large coffee pot, a loud buzzer went off. A chuckle came over the loudspeaker, and Satan said, "Warm pea and poop cake break is over. Back to your handstands." A man walks into a bar and notices a live band is playing. After watching them for a bit, he leans over to the bartender and says, "Hey, these guys are pretty good, but I can't help noticing the drummer keeps swinging at air with his sticks. Why is he doing that?" The bartender responds, "Yeah, I asked him about that. Apparently his favorite cymbal, which his now deceased father gave to him and on which he learned to play all his best licks, was accidentally run over by their van the other day. He can't bring himself to play with a new one yet, but can't stop trying to play the old one when he gets to those parts." "Oh," said the man, "so it's just a cymbal lick gesture." A tired U.S. Army veteran is looking for a seat on a busy British train. He can't find a seat, so he walks up to a British lady and asks, "Ma'am, may I use your seat?" The British lady responded with, "Can't you see my puppy is sitting here? How rude you Americans are." The Army walks off and tries to find another seat. After a couple minutes of searching, he walks back up to the lady and says, "Please, ma'am, may I have your seat? I am very tired." The woman says, "How inconsiderate of you to ask me again." The man then calmly walks up and throws the dog out of the train window and sits down. The woman starts screaming and demanding that the man be punished.
Her husband walks up and says, "You Americans are doing everything wrong. You drive on the wrong side of the road, you use the wrong utensils to eat, and now you've thrown the wrong bitch out of the window."
After a night on the town, a young woman brought a new friend home for a late-night drink. "You can't make any noise," she warned him. "My parents are upstairs, and if they find out, they'll kill us." Things started getting heated on the sofa, but after a while, alcohol got the better of the man. "I have to go," he said. "Well, you can't go upstairs. The bathroom is right next to my parents' bedroom," she replied. "Use the kitchen sink." So he dutifully retired to the kitchen. A few minutes later, he popped his head around the door and asked, "Do you have any toilet paper, or should I just use a paper towel?"
A woman who was pregnant with twins got into a car accident and went into a coma. She was rushed to the hospital, where doctors delivered her twins to save them. But as she was in a coma and her husband was overseas on business, her brother was the only one present to name her children. When she came out of the coma, hours after arriving at the hospital, and found out that her brother had named the twins, she was very worried. Her brother was not very bright, and she didn't think he would have done a very good job of choosing her kids' names. When he came in to see her, she asked, "So, what names did you choose for my children?" He replied, "The firstborn was a girl." "Oh," started the woman, "and what did you name her?" "Denise," answered her brother. The woman was very surprised and very pleased. "Hey, that's not half bad," she exclaimed to her brother. "And what did you name the second child?" She waited excitedly to hear the name her brother had chosen for the other child. "Well, the next born was a boy," her brother informed her. "Yes, and what did you name him?" inquired the woman. Replied the brother, "Denephew."